Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm taking one camera and one prime lens on a 10-mile walk around the Peak District National Park. I'm going to challenge myself to try and find at least 10 images that document today's walk. Right, let's see what we can find. So the camera and lens in question, I bought my Fuji X-T5 and a 28mm or 40mm full frame equivalent prime lens, which is a setup that I typically look to use if I'm out travelling or doing any street photography. I haven't ever used this setup when out on a long hike. I typically look to bring a zoom lens just to give me flexibility, but I really do like the lightweight carry, which is what inspired me to give this a go on today's walk. So I have already captured a couple of photos on the walk up from the car park. I'm not going to count those in the 10, but they'll be appearing on screen now. There are some nice autumn colours still about. We're mid-November pretty much now, but yeah, still a little bit of autumn colour, so hopefully more on the as we make our way through the walk. So I think I've found my first image of this lane leading down to the trees and the barn over there. So behind it you've got some of the hills that I'll be walking up today. And there's a little bit of mist which you might not be able to see, just making its way through the trees in the background. Not sure it'll pick up on the photograph either. But I think this makes a nice first image of the day. I could do with something being on this lane, like a sheep. There's loads of sheep, just none on this lane. So I'm a little bit close to the barn now. I think herein will lie the challenge today of just using a prime lens, a 40mm one at that. Back down the lane there, I was just too far away from the barn. You couldn't see it. The lane was interesting, but I think the barn and the trees were a little bit too far away. I mean, let me know what you think. You might think different, but I've come a little bit close to the barn now. But still, I've had to kind of come up the hill a bit to get enough of what I want in frame here. But I think this is what I like about the challenge of using a prime lens. It's making me think all the time about my composition and kind of explore different vantage points, which I probably wouldn't have done necessarily with a zoom lens. I'd have probably got the obvious photo and carried on. So I've come a little bit further back because I want to capture a photograph of the barn, the trees. Obviously we've got the wall and the gate and some nice autumn colours behind. And then in the far distance there are some distant hills. I have actually photographed this scene before in slightly better conditions. I think it was just over a year ago, and there were still leaves on the trees, so it filled in a little bit of the kind of sky in the background. But it is a really interesting location, this one. I think the barn, it's probably about 150 years old, and every time I come to it or walk past this scene, the wonky guttering is still intact. I don't know for how much longer. It's certainly clinging on, shall we say, but yeah, there's a lot of character to this location and I really enjoy coming back to photograph it. Well, I think that's definitely worth a photograph. I quite like the two bits of farm equipment, but it's the wall that leads right up into the hillside that's been hit by a bit of sunlight that really caught my eye. Well, that's definitely worth taking a photograph of, just to document it. It's just the location of that, underneath that tree. Yeah, there's, apart from the farm that I've just walked past that surely has its own mailbox and doesn't need that, I've no idea who it belongs to. So I think anyone who's watched my videos so far will probably have worked out that it's the subjects that I'm always drawn to, not the light, not the vistas, but the subjects. And I've found another old barn here, but on this occasion it's not the barn that's actually caught my eye, it's the dead tree at the end of the barn. So I'm going to have a look around and see if I can make some images out of that. I'm sure there's some other images of this barn to be had too, but for now it's that tree that's caught my eye. So I've come round to the other side of the barn now, and I really like this this composition here, because you can see the kind of dead tree almost looks like it's kind of growing out of the barn from behind it. Built into the brickwork is the date that the barn structure dates back to, 1865. So it's almost like you're kind of stepping into a piece of history here. You just don't know how long these barns are going to be around for, so I love documenting them. It's just the location of it that enhances the image for me, because you're kind of just leading up into the hillside. It just gives that feeling of remoteness, which I like in my images. So I really like this scene here. I'm going to have to take a vertical image of it, but I'll just show you what's caught my eye. Might not be as obvious on this kind of wide angle camera, but you've kind of got the road here and it meanders around to the bridge, which now is out of focus. And then there's the barn, and then obviously your eye continues to lead to the hillsides. I love that one. The kind of image that just will never ever do well as a single image on social media, because the speed that people scroll at wouldn't do it justice. It's one of those where you've got to spend time looking at it, I think. So this sign warrants a few images just on its own, to be honest. And just look at the detail in it, the moss, the weather-worn nature of that sign. I've tried to get a few different variations of this, which will be appearing on screen. Images of just the sign itself, and then I've tried to use it to point down to the barn, which is down there, and also over to the hillside. Not sure if any of them work. To be honest, it's just about the sign, really. And that's the thing I really wanted to document as part of this set that I'm creating today. So I've made it to the top of Alport Castles, which is a really big landslip. Just in the nick of time, because I think the clouds are starting to roll in from over Kinder Scout there. So I will take a photograph of this. Personally, this type of scene just doesn't excite me. Maybe because I've seen it so many times. If you were seeing this for the first time, particularly in better light than we've got here, I'm sure this scene would appeal to a lot of photographers. Just not me. I will document it though for the purpose of this video, given I want to document where I've walked today. I've quite enjoyed this challenge so far. It's the first time I've taken this setup out on a hike with me. I pretty much always have a zoom lens when I'm out hiking, for fear of missing out. However, I took this exact same setup with me over to Austria recently, and I really enjoyed using it. You'll have seen a couple of the images I took there as I've been speaking. I will pop a link also to the page on my website. I've put some of the photos from Austria that I took with this setup on there if you wanted to check those out after you've watched this video. Well, I really like what I've stumbled on here. The noise in the background of the sawing is giving the game away, I think, but we've got a tree that's clearly been felled, but just the way it has been, how it looks like its arms are kind of spread-eagled, and there's some lovely colour left on some of the trees behind it. It's such a shame that there's not fog, because I think if we had fog here, I think I'd be onto a winner with this photo. This is one of the things I love about going on photo walks with my camera. You never know what you're going to find. And this is fab. I do like a bit of woodland photography occasionally, and I've barely done any this autumn because we haven't had any fog, to be fair. But hopefully, I mean, it might not look as good when I've edited it as it does on the back of the camera, but yeah, I really like that one. Pleased I stumbled on it. So do you ever set yourself specific challenges with your photography in the way I've done today by limiting myself to one particular focal length? I'd love to hear what they are in the video comments, so please share them. I'm always looking for new challenges to take on myself, just to keep photography fresh, really. So the rain has duly arrived as was forecast, so we best start thinking of wrapping this one up. But until next time, see you all soon. Bye for now.